What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Trust Your Board podcast. My name is Stephen Wright, and I am joined by Mr. William Monroe. Will, how you doing?
Steve, doing well. Just got back from vacation myself here. Appropriately sun tan, I will call it. And I wouldn't say tan, but definitely did a good job of not burning, so it's always a plus.
There you go.
Yeah.
Good work.
As close as I get to tanning, at least.
Yeah, it's always a win when you can come out without that burn. It's like a main objective of mine anymore. I'm done
exactly.
with it.
I'm like, hey, I screen up and then it's all about reapplying. It's the key.
Yeah, every whatever, I don't know. I don't have like a set schedule, but I try to remind myself whatever hour and a half, I don't even know.
Yeah.
Just go do it. It might be too early. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Just do it.
Not worth not doing it for sure. Yeah, I think I was aiming for every like 2 to 2.5 and ended up working out all right.
Yeah, solid. Getting in some beach time before the drafts kick in, huh?
Yeah. Last, I only ended up having 2 beach trips this year, unfortunately, but this was the last one of the year. So next weekend will be dominated by 3 drafts plus one here this coming Wednesday. So got some drafts upcoming. Got ours, as we're mentioning there, our offline live draft, and then my other offline home draft here, my kind of oldest main league that we're going to be doing a mock for today.
Nice, yeah. And do you want to go over all of the specifics with that, the team scoring and roster size?
Yeah. So for this league, we are looking at 10 teams, half points PPR. We do have our draft order chosen like about a month out with a randomized selection, so everyone kind of has their spot and can kind of anticipate what they're looking at. We've got quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, 2 full flexes, so it could be anything but a quarterback there as a tight end, running back, receiver, your defense kicker, and then 7 bench spots.
Beautiful. Are you ready to kick it off?
Yeah, I'll be taking the 8th spot here for my team itself, and then you'll be drafting out of the 4th spot.
Yes. I think this time around, and not that I think the draft strategy is too different, but usually I draft wherever your dad is drafting. And I'm going to put his mindset aside and just do whatever I want. Again, not that it's too crazy. I think that the styles are pretty similar, but who knows? Maybe
not asking for what would you do here. You're going all in on what you would do in the situation.
Yeah, sometimes I try to get like an opinion of like, does he hate early quarterbacks? Do you think he's okay with this tight end here? I'm going to throw all that aside and just do whatever I want. So has team 1 apparently Justin Jefferson going with the 101.
Oh, how about that? I know we've been talking him up as like the 1 or 2 wide receiver, but I don't think we've seen him go 1 overall just yet.
Yeah, that's something else. Calling your shot there. So Justin Jefferson at the 101, Jonathan Taylor 102, McCaffrey at the 103. So here I am in the 104. I think it's pretty easily Eckler for me. We were coming down on him, but we did that. We did that math of if you take the touchdowns away, he's still like a top 5 guy. Mm-hmm. Forget where exactly he finished. So that definitely restored some confidence. So it's definitely Eckler for me. Cook's in consideration. So would be Kupp. But really those 3 guys. So nothing more to really say. Everyone knows Austin Eckler is pretty good. So we'll just lock him in there. Send the draft Will's way. Derrick Henry goes, Cooper Kupp and Dalvin Cook.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what he was anticipating as well. We're looking at what we know of, and it seems like McCaffrey and Taylor will going to go 1-2. 3 up in the air could be receiver, maybe Derrick Henry. So here is anticipating, looking at Austin Eckler. So I think that makes sense with what actually could be happening. So look what's on the board here after Dalvin Cook. Top options here, Jamar Chase. We've got Najee Harris, Joe Mixon, Stephon Diggs, DeAndre Swift. You've got all your tight ends, all your quarterbacks. Not going to be either of those here with the 8th pick. It comes down to, do I want a running back or a receiver? And for me, they happen to be on the same team. Joe Mixon and we've got Jamar Chase. There's some running backs that aren't too far off. Najee, DeAndre Swift, Kamara. So I think I'm going to call my shot here on a receiver in Jamar Chase. For me, it was, looking at the 7 guys who went here, and then Jamar Chase. So I'm basically anticipating taking one of the 8 here with my pick, and just happened that they all went there, so I don't really have much of a choice. And we'll see what gets back to me here. But going to lock in Jamar Chase here at the first pick. After him, Joe Mixon, DeAndre Swift, Saquon Barkley, and Nick Chubb. So that leaves here receivers, Stephon Diggs, Devontae Adams, probably really the only options there. Tight end, Travis Kelce still there, so interesting option. And then at the running back position, we've got Najee Harris, Alvin Kamara, Aaron Jones, probably the only 3 I'm really considering there. I would say the tight end position is always interesting when you still have Kelce there, here beyond pick 12. So you're looking at kind of second round grade overall, pick 13. And in 12 team leagues, I think you may see him go here. I'm going to hold off on the tight end position, but definitely in consideration here with Travis Kelce. The other option, if I was looking receiver, Diggs would be really interesting if I wanted to go receiver heavy. I believe I did that more recently, so I want to see if we just kind of strike a balance and see what the team looks like in that scenario. So it comes down to the running back position, and I know we talked recently about it, but Najee Harris, I think, is a little more worrisome to me. Was it you that I was talking to
The
about
Liz
the
Frank
injury?
injury, yeah.
Yeah. So and apparently he's had it. He's within the recovery time frame, right? So 4 to 6 weeks. It said this is week 4. Maybe he misses a game. Maybe he's ready for week 1, but who knows how fresh he will be coming off of the injury. So with that being said, I think for me it's a little easier to go Kamara here. Just lock that running that position down. At this point, it seems like all of the worry about legal trouble is kind of in the rear view for now. Maybe it's something next season we see, but I would imagine we would have known something by now at this stage. So it comes down to Najee, Aaron Jones, and Kamara. I think Kamara has the highest floor and ceiling, so it's easy for me to lock him in there with Jamar Chase. So lock in Alvin Kamara. After Kamara goes Najee Harris, Devontae Adams, and Stephon Diggs. So we do have a team double stacking receivers there with Cooper Kupp and Devontae Adams.
Yeah, so I am staring down Kelce now.
The Kelce option is there.
It is, yeah. I don't do it too often. But looking, we got Aaron Jones, super interesting. It's man, if I want to play it realistic, that's probably what I would do. CeeDee Lamb, Debo, Mike Evans, all solid, and then there's Kelce. I'm wondering if I could go Aaron Jones here and maybe Mark Andrews or something gets back to me.
I think Mark Andrews, I'm loving him in the 3rd if you can get him. And I guess at this point, it's within the early 20s, late 20s.
Yeah, like with one tight end still here, that's going to, someone's going to take Kelce, and maybe that allows Andrews to slip through. I'm betting not, but maybe. So I'm going to do what I would normally do. I'm going to draft Aaron Jones, give myself 2 running backs. Really like him this year. We'll see what happens. Fournette goes. Mark Andrews goes before Kelce. They go back to back. Team 1 and 2 pick 209, 210. It's a shame, but then we start the 3rd with Javonte Williams, Debo, and CeeDee Lamb. So back on the clock. That's unfortunate. We got James Conner, Zeke, Etienne, Breece Hall, wide receiver. We're looking at Mike Evans, Tyreek Hill, AJ Brown, T. Higgins. In a league where you could start 4 running backs, I think I'm just going to add another one, and I'm going to grab Zeke up here. Eckler, Aaron Jones, Zeke sounds pretty good. Even if Zeke's fading, I'm okay. I've said for a couple of years now, I'm scared of his drop off because of the age, and that fear is still there, but the ADP helps where he's just lower now. So he should be like a solid volume guy. Gonna lock him in, get a 3rd running back up front. And I think a solid running or wide receiver could still get back to me in the 4th, considering it's only a 10 team league. So we locked him in. Zeke with the 304, and then Tyreek goes Breece Hall and Mike Evans.
Yeah, and this puts me in an interesting spot. T. Higgins still here, I think, is one of the kind of regrets when you take Jamar Chase earlier. Chase definitely has the higher upside, but I think Higgins is going to be good as well, and it kind of locks you into not being able to take them. So you see him here in addition to A.J. Brown, Michael Pittman, Keenan Allen, DJ Moore. So some solid receiver options. At running back, James Conner, Travis Etienne, David Montgomery. So it is starting to dry up a little bit there. But I do see a few teams behind me that have all running backs already. So I anticipate some receivers going here. So what I'm going to try to do is grab a receiver, and then that'll lock up my first running back, 2 wide receivers. Next pick, I'll have flexibility to get my second running back locked in or third receiver locked in, depending what gets back to me. And I don't think I've taken him much this year, but I'm going to go with AJ Brown. From everything we've seen at camp, he looks to be like the distant one targets wise, and I think Goddard and Devonta Smith will be mix in there too, and it just seems like the offense is going to want to pass the ball more. And at this stage here, later in the third round, I think it's a not a bad pick to pair up with the players I already have here in a 10-team league. And we'll see what gets back to me, whether it's Keenan Allen or Michael Pittman or one of those running backs. But I just like the upside here of going with AJ Brown. And as I thought, no running backs go here. So Kyle Pitts goes, and then Josh Allen, first quarterback off the board at the end of the third. Keenan Allen and Jalen Waddle next here. Josh Allen's definitely in consideration, but it's just too early for me to take quarterbacks. Definitely think he is the 101 there, though, so makes sense for Josh Allen going off the board. So back to me here. It comes down to James Conner, Travis Etienne, and David Montgomery from looking running back. But there is still some big-time receivers. I don't think I can pass on a Michael Pittman here. For me, didn't not having Jamar Chase, T. Higgins is probably a little more consideration. But with Chase on the team here, James Conner and Pittman, kind of the top 2 guys for me. And I am high on Pittman and low on James Conner relative to their current value. So I'm going to lock in my third receiver here, and knowing that we need 3. And see what it looks like, not getting my second running back until the 5th round or later here. Get some experiment going on. So we've got Michael Pittman locked in. James Conner goes next. Mike Williams, and then Courtland Sutton.
That's a shame. I was really hoping Mike Williams or Courtland Sutton got to me. Those were the 2 I had my eye on. But T. Higgins sneaks through.
It's a solid roll one there
win.
with the team that you have.
It is, yeah. I'm also staring, like I could go 4 running backs and, grab up an Etienne or a Montgomery. But it seems pretty unnecessary. So I think wide receivers a play. Tight ends, we still got Kittle, Waller, Schultz are out there. Got all our quarterbacks, but I'd rather wait. So I think Higgins makes the most sense. That's a pretty easy play in my book. I'm really surprised he got through here. So we're going to lock him in. I definitely haven't been drafting him too often, but he has fallen here. I will scoop that up. ETN goes right after DJ Moore. Brandon Cooks that rounds out the 4th round. AJ Dillon, Cam Akers, and Terry McLaurin go. It is interesting. We liked Brandon Cooks a lot in that kind of like June, July timeframe. And I don't remember what his ADP was, but it wasn't this high. Like, we don't really draft him anymore.
Late 30s, right? Yeah. 40, I guess, technically.
I was thinking today, like, because we don't do mocks like once a month or once every, like we do them every week for 3 months.
Yeah.
Just so many things change. Like I remember I used to like Mostert a lot because he was so late. That's a good gamble, but like you just don't hear a lot about him anymore. So he's kind of fallen off. Brandon Cooks has gotten too high. Jalen Hurts was a good big quarterback for us early on. Mm-hmm. He's gotten high. We don't really draft him.
Yeah,
ADP. Here and there.
And Damian Pierce shoot up as well.
Yeah, 100%. Gabe Davis has moved up. So yeah, it just opinions are changing and things are kind of moving around. Pittman has moved up. Like Pittman, I liked him, but I feel like you're drafting him at a ceiling at this point. I don't want it. So yeah, things are changing, and one of the things that changed is, I'm hesitantly rising on Allen Robinson. The problem is I look at Allen Robinson, I don't like anyone around him. Like I don't want Deontay Johnson, I don't want Metcalf, I don't want Hollywood. Darnell Mooney, it's too early for. So I feel like I want a wide receiver right now. Allen Robinson's the safest one. So he's going to be the one I go with. I would have never drafted him come June because he was way off, but he's gotten back on the board, and he just makes sense given the pieces surrounding him. So going to add him here, get a second wide receiver for this team. David Montgomery and Josh Jacobs go, and then Deontay Johnson right before you.
Yeah, so some interesting wide receiver values there. A couple guys, even after Brandon Cooks, Allen Robinson, Deontay Johnson. I think that's pretty solid value there in the fifth. And I guess if we're looking at ADP, yeah, that would be 44 and 47. So pretty solid, even as a late fourth round picks in 12-team leagues. But kind of cuts off the receiver position. DK Metcalf still there, good value overall. Darnell Mooney, Jerry Jeudy. But given that I've got three receivers already and there's a few running backs I still like, I think that's going to be the move here. The guys that are an option for me just would be Elijah Mitchell and George Kittle. I'm sorry, Elijah Mitchell and Chase Evans, George Kittle, and Justin Herbert also options. So when I'm looking at the team here, now one quarterback already gone behind me. So if I wanted to go quarterback, I think I'd probably give it another round to see if he gets through just the team 9 there. But George Kittle is interesting as well. Get that upgrade at the tight end position. I think he is kind of the last tight end that on the top end that I'd like. Definitely better than Waller. I don't know if you saw the reports that he's. I believe they said he practiced once since like the end of July. So he's.
Yeah, I was always worried about him to begin with, but yeah, that's not ideal.
No, definitely not ideal. So it comes down to, do I want to get that positional advantage in like a Kittle or Herbert, or do I want to grab that running back in like an Elijah Mitchell? It's tough. I think I want to see what happens if I do opt out and see if a Mitchell sneaks through or end up just going with the Chase Edmonds. And I think the main advantage here is going with the Justin Herbert. I think you do have that major upside, and on the back end there, I can get whichever running back gets through. But here at this stage, late in the fifth round, more than okay to take one of the top quarterbacks here in Josh Allen and Justin Herbert. So gonna lock in Justin Herbert here. And it looks like he may have went there, just given that another quarterback went. We had DK Metcalf and Jerry Jeudy then end the fifth round, and then Elijah Mitchell and Patrick Mahomes to begin the sixth round here. So getting back to me, still looking at George Kittle on the board, which is appealing. I usually don't go early on both of them, but those are kind of elite options at the positions. But given what I would have to wait on the running back position, it just would be too tough, and I don't think I can pass on grabbing one of the top guys here. And it comes down to, do I want to go with like an upside guy like J.K. Dobbins, who doesn't look like is guaranteed to play in week 1, and we'll see how healthy he is, or going with what I presume is the top guy in Miami and Chase Edmonds. Have Damon Harris here, Miles Sanders. We still have some other options, but I just don't think that I can pass on Chase Edmonds here and start getting that running back position built up a little bit. But I think having Alvin Kamara, having top 3 QB, possibly QB1, as well as a strong receiving core, definitely gives me some flexibility there. So gonna lock in Chase Edmonds here. After Chase Edmonds goes Lamar Jackson, George Kittle, Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Yeah, so taking a look, any of these running backs would have been nice as my fourth. Clyde, Chase, Mitchell, that would have been nice. Looking at the remaining ones, Dobbins, little iffy on. As a fourth, that probably works out fine. Gibson, who everyone was down on, is now kind of forced back up given the Brian Robinson situation. So I had no idea where he's going to end up going in drafts. Damian Harris, I'm not that interested in. Sanders, okay. Penny, I don't think I can do Penny. And then Kareem Hunt, who I'm kind of rising back on after being down on earlier in the year, but I feel like it's too early again. Where wide receiver, we still got Hollywood Brown if you want to take that shot. Darnell Mooney's here, Gabe Davis, Rashad Bateman. So it's real solid options. Got a lot of top quarterbacks left. I was wondering if I'd have to make a Patrick Mahomes decision here. That would have been tough. But I think I'm going to turn back to the wide receiver position here, and I think I'm going to take a shot on Darnell Mooney. It's close between him and Gabe. Gabe with the better offense, but the clear number two, also kind of like a sporadic history. Darnell Mooney, pretty solid. He's definitely the one on his team. So I think I'm going to follow that. Maybe Gabe Davis gets back to me, and I can grab him up again. And if not, maybe I consider Bateman too. So we'll see what gets back to me. And I'm not wanting any specific position, which is kind of a good spot to be in. It is not going to be a couple of these guys. So J.K. Dobbins goes, Hollywood Brown does go, Kyler Murray, and then Gabe Davis. That's the 6-7 turn. Antonio Gibson finally goes 702, and then Juju at the 703. So Bateman does get here. I do got to do another running back check. It hasn't changed a whole lot. I would like to get a fourth, but I probably want to roll the dice because as far as fours go, I'm fine with Sanders. I'm fine with Hunt, Pollard, Stevenson, Pierce, probably Singletary, Melvin. So I'm pretty comfortable with all them. I'll take a shot on Rashad Bateman, get a young second year wide receiver, coming into, a lot of targets that have been vacated with Hollywood going. Not the most pass heavy offense in the world. But they can support him. So I'm going to lock that in there. I haven't drafted him too often, but I like him compared to the other options here. Godwin in consideration, but we'll grab up Rashad Bateman there. Jalen Hurts does go right after me, 705, Brendan Ayuk, and then another tight end in Darren Waller.
Yeah, and the running back gods were nice to me here. The three that went, J.K. Dobbins was the only one I was really potentially interested in, considering them there, but Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I think that's going to be a pretty big time share. And still not very interested in Antonio Gibson, even though, as you mentioned, his value goes up a little bit, given that likely is going to be the top guy to start the season, at least until you have Brian Robinson, healthy and ready to play. So looking at the options here, at the tight end position, have Schultz, Goddard, TJ Hawkinson, Zach Ertz. At the wide receiver position, Michael Thomas, Chris Godwin, Ross St. Brown, Elijah Moore. Still quite a few receivers, and given that I've already got three, got some flexibility there. And then at the running back position, top guys here, Damian Harris, Miles Sanders, Rashad Penny, Kareem Hunt, Tony Pollard. So for me, first one here is going to be Damian Harris. I think he's been kind of just been getting discounted a good bit, because of the worry of Stevenson behind him and other young running backs. But, push comes to shove, he still is the top running back here. And for me to get him as my third running back this late, I think it's a good upside shot to take. And, if they end up being a run-heavy team again, could be a very usable option here. So, going to lock in Damian Harris first. After Harris, Michael Thomas, Amari Cooper, Chris Godwin, and Dameon Pierce. There's the ADP jump there, Steve. 772 when it comes to this.
Yeah, felt like yesterday that we were taking shots on him in like the 13th round. Like, maybe he'll win the job.
Yep. Yeah,
it's him and Algair or whatever.
Yep.
And he has ascended.
Definitely made the move there. So I think unless you were drafting a few weeks ago or earlier, you're probably not going to see him at least at a good value pick anymore, unfortunately. But if we're looking at, for me, I'm looking at probably another running back or possibly a receiver or tight end if there's decent value there. Looking at the board here, we do have, looks like 5 teams have taken their tight end here. One behind me, 4 on the other side. So got some flexibility there. I'll probably hold off on the tight end position at this point. So we're looking at either getting another receiver, another running back. Wide receiver, looking at Amon-Ra St. Brown, Elijah Moore, looking at really and Adam Thielen, I guess, is a decent value there as well. I think he's been discounted a lot, but we were seeing him just kind of constantly, his ADP getting dropped And I think we could definitely see him stepping in and looking like himself again. We're looking at him as a potential H Cliff guy, but I think there's a good chance that at the ADP that we're looking at him at here, probably end of this round, early next round in the 80s. I think it's still a good value. So definitely someone that you can look at later in drafts there. But for me, I do want to lock in another running back here, as there's not too many left. And the one that sticks out to me is Kareem Hunt. I think here at this stage, even though he's in a timeshare there with Nick Chubb, they both are the clearly talented players and going to demand their fair share of carries on the team. And you'd imagine it's going to be a pretty run-heavy team, at least to start the year. So getting him as my fourth running back here, needing depth at the position, I think he's a guy that, worst comes to worst, I could plug in as my RB2 and be okay with it, given the depth of the rest of the team here. So locking in Kareem Hunt. After Hunt, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Elijah Moore, and Ramondre Stevenson.
Well, Stevenson going's a shame. He was definitely on my list. So we're looking at top of ADP, and it's my guy Dalton Schultz, who I am struggling with because I love his upside, just because there's so few options in Dallas. But man, I hate drafting tight ends in the middle or early. Like, if it ain't a late guy, I don't like doing it. So I'm kind of struggling with that, and in a 10-team league, I feel like he is more of a detriment given the draft capital you get and the fact that he can't be a 1. Like, I could just punt and get a Komet or an Njoku and get someone that's probably going to end up being similar to him in a like game-to-game standpoint. So not super interested there. I would really like that another running back. It's pretty much the same guys except for the 3 that I wanted. Thanks, Will. But I'm still happy with Sanders, Pollard, Singletary, Melvin Gordon. Some solid options there still at wide receiver. Thielen, Devonta Smith, Drake London, who I drafted in a mock the other day for the first time I think ever.
Yeah, I got him in a real draft over the weekend here.
Did you?
One of the first ones, yeah.
Someone he just, the guys around him didn't seem appealing. I think at the time it was like London, Renfro, Kirk, Lockett, Woods, and he just seemed like the clear guy. I am looking at Thielen here. Like you said, he's looking pretty good. He's somebody when we talked about risers and fallers, he didn't make my cut, but he was kind of my reserve guy. Mm-hmm. And now like I'm not really rising on Juju anymore, and I've plugged Thielen back into that role. So he would be interesting. And given I have so many running back options that I like, I could just pick whoever gets to me. And I think I'm going to roll that dice and see if that works out. So I'm going to lock in Thielen. He'll be a nice stable guy given, I'm taking a shot on Bateman, pretty confident in Bateman, but, we haven't seen great production from him yet. Donald Mooney's on a bad team. Allen Robinson's coming with issues given how bad he looked last year. So Thielen, I think, is a good stabilizer for this team. Schultz does go right after Drake London, Hunter Renfro, Cordarrelle Patterson. That's the turn. And then Russ and Trey Lance. Shame. There's 2 of the quarterbacks that I was looking at. So that sucks. But all my running backs do make it through. Of this group, I am terrified to trust Singletary. Despite what he did, we got so many seasons of him being so average. It's worrisome. I think I'd rather have I can't have Pollard because I got Zeke. Man, glad I checked that. That would have been a
snafu,
problem. Yeah, I should have considered that. I guess Sanders is the guy. That's worrisome, but that offense as a whole should be better. Again, like you said, more pass heavy, so that's gonna be a shame. But he can benefit from that too. So we're gonna lock in Sanders here. DeAndre Hopkins goes, Joe Burrow, Tyler Lockett. Does that mean every team has a quarterback except for me?
Like it,
I'm good. Yeah, I'm good with that spot.
Yeah, and especially given the guys that are left here, you still got Brady, Dak, Stafford, Rodgers. You still have good options that can definitely finish as QB1 as
Would you rather have Dak or Brady? Curious.
I don't know, man.
I've had to make that decision a lot.
And we made that decision in our Dynasty League to
we did,
pivot there.
Yes.
Obviously, I think a lot of the I think the pendulum's swinging back toward Brady at this point with the Tyron Smith injury news for the Cowboys. Definitely not going to be great, and I don't think you can rely on, oh well, Dak will be able to scramble more, because I don't think they want him to after the injury that he had a couple years ago. So I definitely think I'm a little more down on Dak than I was. I still go with him over Stafford or Rodgers, but I think I would go Brady there.
Okay, fair enough. I've gone back and forth,
Mm,
so I have no clear answer.
yeah. Well, they're your top two quarterback options, so we'll see how long Steve waits to make that decision, and if any of our league mates here take a second quarterback to ruin that for you. But comes back to me here. Still three solid tight end options here: Goddard, Hawkinson, and Ertz. I do like Goddard the best, but already having AJ Brown makes it a little more difficult. So I think what I'm going to do is just kind of give it a round. Obviously, I'll still have at least two of those options available here in the next round, and then be able to make that decision there. So looking at the receiver, we've got Devonta Smith, Alan Lazard, Christian Kirk, Chris Olave, Kadarius Toney. Running back position here, Rashad Penny. Got Tony Pollard, Devin Singletary, Melvin Gordon. Darrell Henderson's an interesting one. It's a little further down there, but I think at this stage, he's someone that has been very discounted, whereas you have Cam Akers still going pretty high. And I could see that being a pretty even split. So be interesting to see what happens there. Another interesting option here is Rashad Penny. I know just a couple days ago, it's like he tested positive for COVID, so he didn't get to play in the last preseason game. But I've seen a lot of people looking at that almost as a blessing in disguise early on here. I mean, maybe that means that he's less likely to get it when the games are actually mattering, and you kind of have a built-in immunity for a bit. But I think other than that, as far as I'm aware, there's no, he doesn't have any other injuries. I think he maybe had some nagging ones early on. From what I could tell, he's been healthy, right?
No, he got hurt weeks ago. I forget what it was. But he did get something. Groin, maybe? Groin or hamstring, I want to say. Which was my takeaway when he got COVID and couldn't play the game. I was like, oh, good, another week of rest
Exactly.
for Penny. But I feel like they're over that. He's good.
Yeah, so I think he's good, and given that I've been loading up at the running back position, trying to make sure I can get a couple that hit here. There's still a few receivers that I like that I wouldn't mind getting looking into the next round for. So I'm going to go ahead and lock in Rashad Penny. I think buys me some more time to let the other guys figure it out. As I think he's going to be a good week one starter as long as he is healthy, especially with Ken Walker not playing. So going very heavy on the running back position. After that, Christian Kirk, Devonta Smith, MVS, and Alan Lazard all go off the board. So it's back to me here. All three of those tight ends are still available. So that's definitely interesting. With the receiver, we've got Robert Woods, Kadarius Toney, who I see he just got hurt, I believe. So
he got hurt. Yeah,
he's been kind of a riser, and unfortunately, it looks like him being hurt is going to hurt the team overall. But Chris Olave, Treylon Burks, Chase Claypool still on the board here. We got Garrett Wilson further down. For receivers, it's really just Robert Woods or Chris Olave. If I'm looking at the two of them, Woods seems like a pretty solid value. Given where he is. It seems like he's on track to play. Coming back from was it an ACL last year, right?
Who was that?
Robert Woods.
Oh yeah, it was a torn ACL.
Or ACL.
He by all indication he's perfectly fine.
Yeah, and I mean at this stage you're looking at like upside shots of young guys that are taking the next step. Outside of like Woods and Claypool, you know what you're getting out of like a Tyler Boyd. So I like the relative safety and volume that I think we're going to see from Robert Woods. So getting him as my fourth receiver here, just a little like more depth to it with the kind of floor base of a depth. Probably not the highest ceiling, but a good floor depth with the top three that I have already. And then being able to kind of just take some shots on some younger guys later. So I'm going to lock in Robert Woods here. and get some balance. Getting my fourth receiver after him, Traylon Burks, Devin Singletary, and George Pickens. So
Ah,
another riser there in George Pickens.
yeah. Somebody who seems great for Dynasty. I'm not sure I'm in on him for a redraft, but that's a shame that Singletary went because I was gonna scoop him up at another running back here, but the lone running back in this run of wide receivers, that is tough. But I do think there's a clear answer here for me. I'm gonna play the ADP game a little bit here. I'm gonna go back and forth, one wide receiver, one running back. The wide receiver that I want, as you said, Tony's been dealing with some injuries. He dealt with a lot of injuries last year, so I'm usually putting Chris Olave above him as far as my rookie of choice here late. Well, not rookie. Tony's not a rookie, but breakout kind of choice here late. So we're gonna lock in Olave, and then we're gonna hope that Henderson gets back to me. Let's take a look. Russell Gage goes, Ken Walker, Tony Pollard, Melvin Gordon, Garrett Wilson, and Tyler Boyd. So that works out. Got a little worried because Melvin Gordon was going to be my backup if Henderson got picked. But alas, everything is good. So yeah, like you said, I've definitely been rising on Henderson. It seems like it's going to be a 50-50 split. Akers isn't all right, or isn't 100% yet. So he seems like a great pickup here in the 11th round. Even at 50%, that could be fantasy gold on the Rams offense. So we're easily going to lock him in. Probably start turning to quarterback and tight end in the next round. I will ask you, since this is your league here, do people tend to draft two quarterbacks? Or is it kind of split
You'll
or
see
none at
maybe a
all?
couple. Definitely, I'd say less than half. But
Okay.
I'd say that probably like three-ish, 3.5
Okay.
maybe if we were setting an over under.
Okay. Okay. That's fair enough. So I'm still comfortable waiting. So we'll lock in Henderson here, and we will turn to the quarterback and tight end maybe next. Kadarius Toney goes, Michael Carter, and then James Cook.
All right. So looking at the receiver position, Chase Claypool still sitting here is really interesting. I know obviously the George Pickens hype has been rising, but I still think Claypool is going to be on the field, even if Pickens is looking good. And they'll run a lot of three receiver sets. Like we said, we're not thrilled about the offense, but I mean, here you're looking at what the end of the 11th round, so we're in the hundreds when it comes to numbers, picks. Chase Claypool seems like a steal here. Devontae Parker is also an interesting option. I think we were talking about him as getting a fresh start there in New England. And another one that I'm torn on and maybe rising a little bit just to stash. I don't know how you feel about Michael Gallup. It seems like they're saying he's going to make the active roster and not start on the pup. Doesn't mean he's going to play immediately, but what do you think? Like, any thoughts on Michael Gallup? Looking to be ready earlier rather than later.
I find it tough because the pup's what, 6 games?
4, I believe.
4? So like he could be missing 3, or he could still miss 4.
Yeah.
So
Doesn't mean he's definitely not missing any games.
yeah, like to have a guy that just sits on your bench for 3 weeks or for a unknown amount of time sucks. If it is just 1 week, I think that's a big win because he's been a good fantasy producer before. Dallas is a good offense; they'll need him there. So I think from that standpoint, it would be a nice win. But man, if he ends up sitting there for 3 or 4 weeks, you can't cut him because
I
you're
will
waiting for
say
that
our
breakout.
league does have IR spots. So guys that are injured, either pup
Then
out
I'm
or
okay with that.
IR, you can, basically stash them and then use that roster spot come
Then
free
yeah, I'd be good
agency.
then. I'm
So, and
perfectly
that's
fine
where
with
I'm
that.
just trying to decide, like, when is the appropriate time to take him? Because, he could step up and be the number 2 there. Obviously, as we said, offense is maybe a little scarier because of the injury to their tackle. But yeah, is this a time that you would consider taking a guy like him, or are you like waiting a little longer, but he's now on your board instead of being off your board?
I'm fine with it. Claypool, I'm not that interested in. Just given the offense, Pickens coming around, second year Fryermuth, I'm just not there. Sky Moore's fine if you want to take a dart throw there. Jacoby Myers, I mean, he's fine. He's not going to be great. I'm falling a bit on Parker because it seems that Myers is the best wide receiver there, which isn't good for Parker. Rondale Moore, kind of like Sky Moore. If you want to take the shot, sure. We know what Landry is going to be, what he always is, probably. And then you got Chark and Dotson. Chark I've been drafting late too. So in of all of those, I'd probably draft Dotson first and then grab a Gallup. Um, and then Chark is kind of in there. But of all those wide receivers, I probably would draft Gallup before any of them, especially because you got the IR. If you didn't have the IR, it'd be a different story. But with the IR, yeah, I'd take him above all of them. He's got more upside than everyone, I think.
Yeah, I think the only one
Well,
for me
that's not
is
true.
Chase
Sky Moore's got a
Claypool.
lot of upside, but
Yeah, Sky Moore definitely upside too. I think the only one just as a whole that I would rather take a shot on was Chase Claypool. Obviously, he's got the name value that he would be pretty much locked into your roster for a little while because not someone you're going to want to cut. But it could easily he could come out and have that 4 or 5 touchdown game and be a guy that you can plug in when you need upside, or possibly be someone on the trade block. So I think for me, it's probably Claypool, but Gallup, would probably be the next one off the list there, and possibly in the next round. But just given that I only have 4 receivers at the moment, would probably want to lock in a 5th receiver, and then have that in the next round or two if he's still available. So we'll lock in first Mr. Chase Claypool, James Robinson, Jacoby Myers, Julio Jones, and Sky Moore go. Interesting that all of these tight ends that we saw just a few rounds ago are still there. Dallas Goedert, TJ Hawkinson, and Zach Ertz, all still available.
do all the teams? No,
No,
team
that's what I was thinking. I just assumed I was going
yeah,
to be
team
punting, but me,
1, 2, yeah. So there's 4.
yeah, 4 of us, even the team behind me too, that still don't have it. So I think,
Wow.
while Devontae Parker, Michael Gallup are interesting shots here, John Dotson, another one, as you mentioned, that's interesting there. Running backs, not thrilled with some of the top guys. I'd probably rather take some later shots. So for me, I'm looking at either a tight end or a receiver. Do I want to go with a Michael Gallup, IR, Devontae Parker, John Dotson, or do I want to just lock in one of the top tight ends? And for me, it's going to be going with the tight end position. I don't like to double down on receiver options, but this late getting a Dallas Goedert, I think he is going to be in for a big year. And I just don't think I can pass up on him. And I like Hawkinson as well, but I think the Eagles offense is going to be clicking a little bit more than the Dallas offense. So going to lock in Mr. Dallas Goedert. I'm sorry, more than the Detroit offense. I'm going to lock in Dallas Goedert here. Devontae Parker goes next, Rashad White, and then Nico Collins.
Well, I said I'd be looking at quarterback and tight end here, but as you said, tight ends just aren't going. I was thinking more would start going.
Yeah, and there's only one person
So
around you there that's needing a tight end.
yeah, so I'm gonna pass on that. I will. I mentioned Dotson, and I think that's who I'm gonna be picking here. Looking at the running backs, Gainwell's interesting. McKissick. That's about it. So I'm sitting on 5 running backs, and that may be where I end up. I mean, I'll grab one more in there somewhere, but um, yeah, I think Dotson's my guy. We're looking at most of the same wide receivers that I mentioned before at the top of the board. I like Dotson. I like Chark. Given this league has an IR, Gallup's there. Landry's interesting for certain teams. I'm going to take another upside shot on Dotson there. Grab another rookie to see if we can get a breakout there. Alexander Mattson, Mostert, Kenny Galladay, Ronald Jones, and then I just got burned. Tom Brady, Dak Prescott.
Back to back. Yeah, I think, back to back and double quarterbacks. But yeah, I mean, you're going to see that here with just a few rounds left. Quarterbacks going to go.
Yeah. So with that said, I'm feeling less inclined to go grab a quarterback now.
Yeah,
I'm going to think.
But does that mean some
another
other
round?
some other teams near me go double up? I guess there are only a few guys that you like available there.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird to look at Rodgers and then be like, I don't like Rodgers, but it probably would be Rodgers. The Stafford injury has me worried, and then after that, it's Kirk. So yeah, I guess I will take the shot on Rodgers. Just get my guy in there. And having Aaron Jones means I will get darn near every touchdown that Green Bay scores. So that's a pretty good offense to have that for. So we'll lock him in there. There goes a tight end, TJ Hawkinson. Brian Robinson still being drafted here, luckily in the 13th round. So no big impact. Isaiah Spiller goes. You're back on the clock.
Yeah, so back to me. And Michael Gallup's still here. This is a place where I think I'd be more comfortable taking him. Rondell Moore, Jarvis Landry, DJ Chark. Good options, but not options that I think I'd, would feel bad passing on for a guy that I'm going to have IR'd for a bit. And the only other position I'd be looking at would be running back, and they haven't moved much. You still have Kenny Gainwell, Khalil Herbert, and Tyler Algier as guys that I'm looking at. And I'm going to, be pretty confident that at least one of them is going to make it through to the next round. So going to lock in Mr. Michael Gallup. After him, we have Naeem Hines, Dawson Knox, Marlon Mack, and then Kenny Gainwell. So back to the running back position here for me, and it's Khalil Herbert or Tyler Algier. I've seen a lot of people talking up the Chicago offense splitting the running game a little more this year with than giving it all to David Montgomery as you've seen in the past. So Herbert's someone that I've been interested in late rounds here. But I think for me, Tyler Algier is more of an upside to potentially jump in and snag a RB1 role on what I think is going to be a slightly better offense. I mean, we'll see. Both Chicago and Atlanta probably aren't going to be competing for the playoffs, and probably not on your top end offenses. But I think if one of them does, it's going to be Atlanta. They have a lot more weapons available to them, and if Mariota can just manage the team well, spread the ball around to Pitts and London, could get the running game, a little bit more involved. So we're going to lock in Tyler Algier here to get another running back. After Algier, Khalil Herbert, Matt Stafford, and Mark Ingram.
Yeah, so I think going to do a strategy that I tend not to do. I'm going to double up at the tight end.
Oh,
no, not double
end.
QB. Double tight end. I'm going to lock in Zach Ertz first. I think if you're going double tight end, he makes a lot of sense because he should be good for the first 6 games.
Mm-hmm.
Sony goes, J.D. McKissick, Mecole Hardman, Derek Carr, Jarvis Landry, Wan'Dale Robinson. That's a shame because he probably would have been my next pick. And then my last one would have been a different tight end. So that's a shame. Looking at the running back position, there's no one I am super interested in here. So I'm just going to keep not drafting them, I guess. Mike Davis as a, maybe 1 or 2 week kind of guy, maybe. Wide receiver. He's still got Rondell Moore, DJ Chark, KJ Osborne. So I think I'm going to make another play here. I'm going to grab Chark. Just see, week 1, week 2, see what he's got not left in the tank, but what he can do in Detroit with a new offense. So we'll lock him in, and then we'll see what tight ends get back to me. Ideally looking at either Kmet or Njoku. Jamal Williams goes, Pacheco goes, and then Freiermuth.
All right. So looking at some guys that are definitely further down in the ADP. Running backs, Boston Scott's interesting. I think the way the Eagles were using
Will, would you like some breaking news?
Oh, breaking news. Good. Put it on there.
Yeah, this is going to be very old news for everyone when they're seeing this podcast. But Jimmy Garoppolo and the 49ers agree on a restructured 1-year contract.
Does that make him more easy to trade?
Maybe. I mean, they got to make a move like now.
Yeah, I mean, otherwise he's just sitting there as the backup.
Yeah. So I don't know he hasn't been he's not involved in any of the meetings and stuff. So I don't even know if he's on the team, if he'd be the back. I mean, I guess he would. But I don't know. That's courtesy of Underdog. I'm not really seeing it anywhere else, but that is the push I just got. Yeah, indeed. Oh yeah. 49ers. Here we go. The 49ers subreddit. He's finalizing a new contract and making the highest paid backup in the NFL. A solution that keeps Jimmy G on the roster while making it clear it's Trey Lance's team going forward. I don't know if that's worrisome or not.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of it.
Kind of scares me.
Doesn't indicate one way or the other specifically.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's a nobody wants to trade for him, so we'll keep him as an insurance policy.
Yeah.
But you could definitely see it as a maybe Trey Lance they're kind of worried about. I wouldn't think so. It's too late to be making that move.
Yeah.
People will spin it that way. Anyway, on with your pick. I apologize.
No. Breaking news. Hot off the presses. Definitely taking Jimmy Garoppolo now. Thank you for the update.
Yeah, for real.
But no, as I mentioned, there's a couple running backs I like. Not really a ton of receivers, so just gonna take the one that I want here in KJ Osborne, and then just nab a running back in the next round. I think Osborne, has the opportunity to step up and solidify himself as the third receiver in the offense, or possibly better if what I talked about with Adam Thielen earlier goes the other way. You could see maybe KJ Osborne step into a even more lead role. So gonna lock in Osborne first. After him, Rondale Moore, Zamir White, Gus Edwards, and Kirk Cousins off the board there. So then it comes back to me here, not having a ton of running backs available that I like. Gonna go, with receivers that I like. Just gonna go in and lock in one more running back here. Top on the board: Deontay Foreman, Darrell Williams, Boston Scott, Smash P. Ryan, Jeff Wilson. For me, it comes down to Boston Scott, who I think has a good opportunity to get some major carries in Philadelphia. They're using him, kind of as like a 2A, 2B with Kenny Gainwell right now. So I think they're both going to get carries, which may not be great for Gainwell. It doesn't look like he had a great camp. And they just really trust and use Boston Scott. So I'm going to lock in Boston Scott early on here and just getting a feel for what happens. I mean, you will see. I know Miles Sanders has been hurt, so it could be that he's out, early in the season, and we're going to have it, the option to use a Boston Scott.
Yeah, we're taking a look here. Unfortunately, Komet did go.
Yeah, so a couple guys off the board there for you.
Yeah, that hurts. But I don't know if we talked about it on the last podcast or I chatted you after, but Njoku, I think, is starting to push above Komet for me, just given the Brissett tight end history. The Browns offense should be better than the Chicago offense in general, so more touchdown opportunity. I don't know. I'm always worried because I don't like drafting these tight ends that have not been great for fantasy for years and years and years. Especially from this tight end class that just didn't work out.
Yeah.
Evan Ingram sitting here on the board, and what's his name's down here somewhere. I'm forgetting OJ Howard.
Yeah, I'd call out David Njoku for you there. I've been rising on him. I think he is someone that's going to benefit from Phil Watson not playing and Brissett playing. I was reading Brissett has like one of the highest tight end target rates.
Yep.
So I could really see him, because he's a crazy athletic tight end. When he has the opportunity, he has the talent. I like him as like a late tight end option if you do punt the position and wait.
Yeah, and that's increasingly the way I'm going. So I think he is going to be the pick here. Irv Smith seems okay, but you don't know if he's going to be starting. Hunter Henry's not a bad pick, but doesn't have, I don't think, the same upside. Albert O is a good shout out.
Yeah.
You believe in that Denver offense and, him being the guy. That's a good one. No offense. Okay. Everett maybe, but he's had so many opportunities. Tunyon seems to be better and ready to play. I mean, it just seems Njoku makes the most sense given, the quarterback preference, the offense still being pretty good, the lack of weapons around them. Seems like a solid guy. So I think because of him and Komet, I'm really coming off my Dalton Schultz stuff and this Gallup news. I didn't know this Gallup stuff. So if Gallup is looking good, that hurts Schultz.
Yeah, I mean, we were all worried about him and James Washington taking over, and then the Washington injury and the rookie Tolbert not looking great in camp. I think
everything lined up for Schultz. They had to, Mr. Necessary kind of, but a good Mr. Necessary.
Nice callback.
Yeah, I know. Thank you. But if Gallup's back in 3 weeks and is good, then that's going to hurt Schultz quite a bit. And do I want to burn a mid-round pick for a guy that's going to be just an average tight end and after 3 weeks where I could grab my last pick in Njoku?
Yeah. Banking on Schultz being like a heavy target player. And if that's not the case because other receivers are going back that are going to demand targets, it's going to burn you in the middle rounds.
Yeah. That's worrisome there. So, again, I'm giving up Adam Thielen. I drafted right before Schultz. So would I rather have Adam Thielen and David Njoku or David Schultz and Josh Palmer.
Yeah.
There's a big difference there. So I'm just going to lock in Njoku. I think it makes a lot of sense. And he's going to be my guy that I tag team with Zach Ertz.
Yeah, I like that because you could start Ertz early, kind of really feel out what you got there in Njoku. But if you see it working out early on, you can quickly pivot there. So I think that's a good pairing.
Yeah, absolutely. What was your draft grade?
Yeah, this time one of the better ones I've had here from Fantasy Pros, a B plus, 88 out of 100.
Okay, I got a B plus, but it was an 87 out of 100.
Oof, very close.
That's what you get for drafting 2 tight ends, I guess.
Yeah, they didn't like that. Although, the algorithm does take multiple quarterbacks, multiple tight ends here and there. So they, can't be all against that. Maybe it's not all
Yeah,
that
they got to like it to some degree.
Yeah.
That is very fair. Well, let's go ahead and recap our teams. I drafted out of the 104 position. At quarterback, I have Aaron Rodgers. At running back, it's Eckler, Aaron Jones, Zeke, Miles Sanders, Darrell Henderson. At tight end or at wide receiver, quite a list here. T. Higgins, Allen Robinson, Darnell Mooney, Rashad Bateman, Adam Thielen, Chris Olave, Johan Dotson, and DJ Chark. And then at tight end, the combo of Zach Ertz and Njoku. I like the team. I mean, very powerful at the running back position. And I think wide receiver is pretty strong as well, with a lot of young upside with Mooney, Higgins, Bateman, Olave, Dotson. If I miss on all of them, I'm doomed. But some are more dart throws than others. Overall, it's pretty solid. I hate drafting 2 tight ends, but I'm okay with what I've done here, considering they're so late. And Aaron Rodgers is interesting. I've never done a regular mock or a real draft and ended up with Aaron Rodgers. So that's kind of weird to see. But overall, I like it, which you tend to do in 10-team leagues.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm happy with it. How about you, drafting out of the 8 spot?
8 spot, I'm pretty happy with the team here. Quarterback, got Justin Herbert. Running backs, Alvin Kamara, Chase Edmonds, Damian Harris, Rashad Penny, Kareem Hunt, and Tyler Algier, as well as Boston Scott. So wanted to get some depth there as my RB2 and beyond. It wasn't too strong. Wide receiver, Jamar Chase, A.J. Brown, Michael Pittman, Robert Woods, Chase Claypool, Michael Gallup to put on the IR, and KJ Osborne, and then rounded out with Dallas Goedert. Overall, pretty good. Always feel bad if I don't have stronger RB depth than that, but being able to get Justin Herbert where I got him, gives a big positional advantage there. Dallas Goedert, I think, is really good value. So having those positions, pretty firmly locked up in my opinion, and having the top end receivers that I have with Alvin Kamara, feel pretty good. Just need a couple of those running backs to hit, and I should be in good shape.
Beautiful. Well, I hope this helps. This draft is
Last one.
When this weekend?
Yeah, this draft is going to be the morning after our draft, Friday night.
Woof.
Yeah,
man, that's
back-to-back drafts. So it'll be
busy,
like 2 p.m.
Busy 12 hours.
Yeah, 2 p.m., let's say.
Oh, 12 p.m. Okay.
Yeah.
That's time to
get
recover.
over there around noon probably, get everything set up. But yeah, it's draft weekend. Labor Day weekend is currently dubbed draft weekend.
Oh, a wonderful time.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. Well, if any of you out there have your drafts this weekend, good luck. This will be our last mock of the year, and then we'll transition into waiver show that will be coming out on Tuesday mornings. That's usually around, I think, like 20 minutes, I think is what we did.
Yes. Now, do we may not have a waiver one next week because it is week 1, right? I mean,
yeah, we'll have to skip that.
Yeah. Then we could, maybe just do a heavier start sit week for week 1 there, or come up with something else. We'll see. Keep an eye on the feeds there to see if there's anything else that comes up.
Yeah, absolutely. So until then, folks, good luck in your draft and trust your board.